Good evening, everyone. This is the microphone. Can you hear me? Hello? I want to call this work session of the Columbia County Board of Education to order and welcome you who are here this evening. On behalf of the board and Superintendent Flynn, we appreciate your presence and involvement in our schools. The second board meeting of each month is dedicated to a work session where members of the board, the superintendent, and select members of the cabinet discuss important topics related to student achievement, the effective operation and management of the school district. To ensure that our work session goes smoothly, professionally, and efficiently, we ask everyone to maintain an appropriate level of decorum at all times. Please abstain from any conduct that would be disruptive or disrespectful. We ask our students, families, and those who joined us this evening for special recognitions to remain until all acknowledgments and our board comments have been made. After that, we'll take a short break and dismiss you from this portion of the next portion of the meeting, if you so choose. At this time, please silence your cell phones or other communication devices. And thank you for listening. Tonight, our invocation will be provided by Martinez Baptist Church Minister of Outreach, Reverend Kerry Keith. Reverend Keith.
Let us pray. Father, come before you, Lord, and Lord, we thank you that you are so good unto us. Thank you that you came to this world and died upon the cross, that our sins could be forgiven, we could have eternal life in you, Lord. And thank you that you are a God of power, a God of grace and mercy. And Lord, we pray that you would extend your grace and mercy and your kindness to this meeting, that you would guide this meeting, direct this meeting. And Lord, we pray that your hand of blessing will be upon the staff, the administrative members here. Pray that your hand of blessing will be upon all the schools, the principals, the teachers, the administrators, the students. Lord, we pray that you would just bless them in the way that only you can. Lord, we pray just the remainder of the school year would have your blessing as well, that you would be exalted. And we just thank you. Lord, we pray that you would continue to give us safety. Lord, we pray that you continue to give us all that you promise, heavenly blessings from heavenly places. Lord, we pray this in your blessed, in your holy name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Next, for our Pledge of Allegiance, we are honored to have the 4-H presidents of Stevens Creek Elementary here this evening. Y'all will come forward so I can introduce you. I'll turn around and when I call your name, you'll step forward. And if you have family members here who are present, they'll stand. And then we will give you a round of applause after that. Ollie Kate Lake, Morgan McCall, and Cohen Lavage. These folks. Our presidents will turn and face the flag, and if everyone will stand.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, our agenda is approved. Next, I will turn it over to Dr. Flynn for special recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, board members, and good evening to all of our guests. We have a number of special recognitions and then a school spotlight after that, so we're looking forward to a great meeting tonight and celebrating with all of you. At this time, I'd like to call Mr. Cummings forward to help me with this, and while he's coming over here, I'll just say we're really proud. We've got some fine arts awards we're going to be giving this evening, and then Georgia Department of Education Literacy and Math Leader School Awards, and We were able to have the state school superintendent down to present those, but we also wanted to do it at a board meeting because these are a really big deal. So congratulations, everybody. I look forward to handing these awards out with you. And Mr. Cummings, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for being here this evening. It's my pleasure to begin our special recognition this evening. We're excited to for you guys to be here today and very excited for the awards that we're going to present today. We're going to begin this evening by recognizing Grovetown Middle School, our 8th grade choir, for their performance at the Georgia American Choir Directors Association State Conference held at Kennesaw State University. On October 3rd, 2025, the Grovetown Middle School Choir performed at the 2025 Georgia American Choir Directors Association Conference in Atlanta. This is one of the highest honors a choir can receive. To be eligible for this performance, all choirs were to submit a formal application to include 2 audio recordings from the previous 2 years. All submitted recordings were reviewed anonymously by a listening panel using the National American Choir Directors Performance Rubric. Grovetown Middle School, to our knowledge, was the first choir in the history for Columbia County School District to be selected for this state conference to represent our district. The choir consisted of, and you guys heard them if you were at our Christmas breakfast, the choir consisted of 63 talented students. So we're going to ask at this time if their director, Ms. Victoria Alvarez, if you come forward, as well as the principal, Mr. Blake Stitcher, to accept this recognition. Congratulations. Next, we'd like to recognize 3 of our schools for being selected to perform at the 2026 Georgia Music Education Association In-Service Conference. Our first school to be recognized is Greenbrier High School. To be selected to perform at the Georgia Music Education Association State Conference, a formal application submission is required, as well as an unedited recording of the ensemble performing 2 or more selections. Recordings are reviewed without knowledge of the school or conductor's name, and the program material must display selections that demonstrate a high level of proficiency. The Greenbrier High School Quartet rehearsed twice a week outside of class. Also noted that several members of this quartet have been selected by both the GMA District 10 Honor Band and the Georgia All-State Band. The quartet ensemble's next band performance will be at the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia on Saturday. There's pin and stuff. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully they're able to perform. This group is under the direction of Mr. Rutledge Borkin and supported by Dr. Brian Toney. So we're going to ask that Mr. Borkin and Dr. Toney please come forward to accept this recognition, as well as Principal Mr. Chip Former. Congratulations. Next, we would like to recognize Blue Ridge Elementary. The Blue Ridge Orphan Chorus Ensemble, directed by Ms. Brittany Swan, has also been selected to perform at the 2026 Georgia Music Education Association In-Service Conference. This group consists of 3rd through 5th grade students who welcomes participation from their homeroom teacher recommendations. While this chorus is open to all recommended students, the orphan ensemble requires an additional audition for 4th through 5th grade students who demonstrate strong musical aptitude and commitment. The hard work and dedication has resulted in outstanding achievements, including earning a first place appearance at the 2024 Music in the Parks Festival. This ensemble will perform also January 29th, this Thursday, at 7 p.m. at the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia. Ms. Brittany Swan, would you please come forward, as well as our principal, Ms. Brittany Clyde. Congratulations, Ms. Swan, and students of Blue Ridge Elementary School. Our last school to be recognized for the Georgia Music Education Association is Grovetown Middle again. Making this a notable year, the 8th grade chorus from Grovetown Middle were also selected to perform at the Georgia Music Education Association in-service conference. Throughout the year, this group of 8th graders continue to share their talent in their school and throughout the community. Performing at 2 prestigious events this year is a testament of Ms. Victoria Alvarez's dedication to her students' growth and craft. The chorus will perform at the First Baptist Church in Athens, Georgia on January 30th, this Friday at 7 p.m. And also, as we already heard, they've already had several performances already this year. So we also want to recognize Ms. Victoria Alvarez again, as well as her principal, Mr. Blake Stitcher. You come back up. Congratulations. All right, next, as Dr. Flint stated earlier, our schools had an opportunity to be recognized earlier this month by State Superintendent Woods at Lakeside High School in the Performance Center for their outstanding leadership in literacy and math. So we're going to kind of expound upon those awards here today. So we're going to start with the Georgia Department of Education Literacy Leadership Awards. The Literacy Leaders Awards are offered for both growth and achievement. 3rd and 6th grade students are considered for gateway grades for Literacy Leaders Awards. So I'm going to tell you a little about what those awards entail. So gateway achievement. So those schools that earn this award, when the percentage of third grade and 6th grade and high school students reading at or above grade level 90% or higher on the 24-25 Georgia Milestone Assessment. If they earn the gateway growth, these students earn this award when the percentage of 3rd, 6th grade, and high school students reading at above grade level increased according to a tiered growth criteria. And there were several different levels on that criteria that they could meet to earn the growth criteria. And also students, if they qualify for either the achievement or the growth criteria, then that means they could also, their other grade levels could also qualify as well. So if it was 3rd and 6th for reading, then their 4th and 5th grade also qualify as well if they met the criteria. So that opened up the door for those grade levels as well. So of the Literacy School Awards, there was a total of 406 students that met this qualification, recognized as literacy leaders, and 5 of them are right here in Columbia County, so we'd like to recognize them at this time. So principals and staff, please come forward and I'll call your school name and remain until a photo is taken. From Cedar Ridge Elementary School, they are 3rd grade growth and 4th grade growth. Principal, Ms. Angie McDaniel, Cedar Ridge Elementary School. They also received their banners and their ribbons when they met with Superintendent Woods at the Performance Center as well, so they have those already. Congratulations. Greenbrier Elementary School received 3rd grade achievement, 5th grade achievement, and 5th grade growth. Principal Ashley Odom and her faculty and staff will come forward. Lakeside Middle received 6th grade growth under Principal Jeremy Medlin. North Elementary received third grade growth under Principal Melissa Culpepper. Last literature leader, Stallings Island Middle, received sixth grade growth under Principal Vicki Tarleton. Congratulations to all of our literacy winners. We're also pleased to announce that 14 of our schools have been recognized by the Georgia Department of Education for achievement, growth in mathematics. The criteria was the same for mathematics. The only difference is that they looked at grades for math, grades fourth and fifth, fourth, fifth, and eighth grade. I'm sorry, fifth, eighth, and high school for math. Fifth, eighth, and high school for math instead of third, sixth. Those were the gateway grades. So just switched up the grades for math, and then also third and sixth were considered for those. If you met the criteria for those grade levels, then third and sixth, and those other grades will be considered if you met that criteria. So just kind of switched it up for that grade level. So we had 14 schools that met the criteria for math. So we'll call those schools up at this time. Principals, if you come forward with your staff. For Baker Place Elementary, met the criteria in fifth grade growth. Principal Sean Prouty. Middle School met criteria in eighth grade growth and high school growth. Principal Holly Bowen. Evans Elementary, fifth grade growth. Principal Tanya Ellis. Evans Middle, eighth grade growth, high school achievement, high school growth. Principal Dr. Michael Caraway. Greenbrier Elementary, third grade growth, fifth grade growth. Principal Ashley Odom again. Greenbrook Middle, 7th grade growth, 8th grade growth, high school achievement, and high school growth. Principal Tony Clyde. Grovetown Middle, high school growth, Principal Blake Stitcher. Harlem Middle, 7th grade growth, 8th grade growth, high school growth. Valerie Reed, Principal Valerie Reed. Lakeside Middle, 8th grade growth and high school growth. This for Jeremy Milton again. Lewiston Elementary, 3rd grade growth and 5th grade growth. That's for Sherry Allen. Martinez Elementary, 5th grade growth, Principal Dr. Whitney Smith. North Harlem Elementary, 5th grade growth, Principal Melissa Cutler. Riverside Middle, 7th grade growth, 8th grade growth, Principal Roger Putnam. Last but not least, Stallings Island Middle, high school growth, Principal Vicki Tarleton. Let's give all of our math leaders schools. This concludes our special recognition.
you very much, Mr. Cummings, and I will say you did a much better job than Superintendent Woods did. Y'all agree? Y'all agree? We love our state superintendent. It's a little off his game that day. It's about 45 minutes late. If you're watching, Superintendent Woods, we love you. So, we want to have just a few board comments that we'd like to make in response to these great recognitions. I'm going to start tonight with our Vice Chairman, Phil Kidd.
Well, it's lovely to see a packed house. It's great. Congratulations to everybody on their achievements. It's always nice to also recognize the arts. We don't get an opportunity to do that very often. And my late great mother-in-law actually gave me a great appreciation. Her name Debbie Dallas for the arts, and it's really nice to see that we're Grovetown's doing some big things. Again, it's nice to see State Superintendent Woods to come down and recognize all of our achievements. We didn't talk about percentages, but I believe some of those percentages are really high. I mean, some were exceeding 40%. Yeah, even higher than that. So that's pretty impressive. Ms. Easley, you want to go next?
That's probably Chairman.
Yeah.
And it is an outstanding thing to see here, have so many schools on the list, some of them on both lists. More than awesome. So thank you teachers, thank you students, thank you parents for all that you do. Thank you to the people in this room making the support possible so that they can do what they do. I don't know if y'all have encountered the connection between math and music. I saw this in the schools. Frequently there was a math competition and a music competition the same weekend. We had faculty pulling students both ways because those students tend to have the same interests. So I think it's great that we can offer our students both to support the things that appeal to them and bolster their performance in both areas. So we are thankful for all of your accomplishments. We appreciate the leadership of our 4-H presidents. Reverend, we thank you as well. And thank you to all of you for being part of our blessings.
Thank you, Ms. Easley. Ms. Christy Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, 4-Hers, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We appreciate that and look forward to seeing you as you continue your leadership skills in your school. So thank you for that. To chorus and band, thank y'all for all you do. You are, like Ms. Teasley said, there's so much you offer to our schools, leadership, just morale, and just fun at games. So we do appreciate all that you do, the beautiful voices, and the marching band. My daughter was a band player, so I've enjoyed following all of our schools. I'm amazed that we have, I think I counted 17 schools represented here, principals here in their schools and their teachers and faculty. So that to me is very amazing. That's excluding our high schools, right? So I think we have one high school here. So, but the rest were all elementary and middle school. So congratulations to y'all for going above and beyond, and all that your teachers do and you doing your leadership. We do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Ms. Katie Allen.
Thank you, Pastor, for the invitation. It's always good to start from that place that draws us together. So thank you for that. And 4-Hers, again, I always say it's easy to say the pledge every day until you're up in front of an audience, and then it gets a little bit harder. So y'all did a wonderful job and looked very, very good and professional out there. So thank you for taking that initiative to lead us in that. I echo Ms. Teasley. There's, I think a very well-known connection between the music and the arts and the academics. And so I love that we're acknowledging both and putting both on the same plane as far as being appreciative of the work that the schools do, the parents, the students go above and beyond to really excel and do very well. But even more beautiful than excelling these things, I hope it's that love of learning that these students are having as they see, one, that they're good at math, that they're good at reading, they're good at learning music. But hopefully that pride and seeing that excelling translates into a lifelong love of seeing math in the world around you and music and reading to learn more. And so I just thank you for our educators who are not just helping our students succeed, but are instilling that love of learning for the lives of these students to enrich them. Thank you to the parents. Thank you to all the support personnel in the classroom, the paraprofessionals. I know there's so many people behind the scenes working with students on kind of an individual level. to help this result happen. So just thank you to all the players out there.
Thank you, Ms. Allen, and I'll just echo all those comments and point out that we recognized Mr. Tony, Mr. Boykin, and Ms. Lund, and Ms. Alvarez, and I just would encourage the principals to go back and let the students know about how great their leaders are and share that recognition with them, because you can't do it without good talent and good students. So congratulations to y'all. Also, as to all the schools that were recognized, we do want to thank Superintendent Woods for recognizing achievement. And I want to congratulate y'all for the hard work you've done, because it didn't just happen. It was very intentional, and it's the result of a lot of investment in time and energy and effort. And I'm just so thankful that we can have an opportunity to recognize y'all for excelling. So at this time, we'll take a short break, and if anybody would like to lead the meeting, you're welcome to exit. We'll come back to order this time. With regard to approval of consent items, I have a request to pull the December financials to address separately. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of consent items A, C through G.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, that's approved. And then with respect to, and Dr. Flynn, I will, I meant to turn it back over to you, but you come on up. And then with respect to December financials, do I have a motion to approve? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, floor is open for any questions.
Thank you, Chairman Deagle, for separating this so I could ask a few questions. I noticed that we had added the 2027 to 2032 SPLOST chart on here now because we approved those bonds. And I just wanted to ask, so I see that the bond proceeds is at around 193.3 million under the revenue, and then under the debt, the principal and interest associated with that bond is about 64.8 million. So if my calculations are correct, that puts around $217 million remaining to be repaid for that bond over into future SPLOSTs, right? That's not documented on this financial report anywhere.
I'll let our CFO answer it.
Okay, is there, which financial document shows kind of our running debt total for all of our bonds?
Best indicator of that would be, based on that, would be the annual financial report that shows that, showing out the line of rate bond issuance that's there. So that would be probably the best place to get.
Okay.
At that point in time.
Do we have, and you might not have this, and not to put you on the spot, do we have an idea of now with this bond debt, what our total debt is for bond principal and interest at this point? Okay, I just wanted to say, as a board, are we good with only accounting for $64.8 million of that bond debt, even as we're claiming the $193.3 million of the proceeds within this SPLOST and putting the rest of that into future SPLOST, or is there a way we want to start keeping that in our financials where we're looking at how we're going to be paying that off?
If you want that information, you can ask for it at any time. You don't even have to wait for a meeting or a work session. You can ask for that any time, and it's in our annual reports. I don't see any reason for us to change the way that we present our monthly financials. Does anyone else?
Alex, how often are you tracking that? I think that'd be helpful for everybody to know that. I think that's important.
Yeah, so you're only making debt payments twice a year, and so that's scheduled, if you will, is updated accordingly. It doesn't change daily or monthly, even it only changes really twice a year. It's reduced when payments are made.
And it's reported at that time, right?
Well, it'll be reported on an audited financials,
Right.
but not necessarily total amount of revenue now, so. But yes, it could be requested anytime, just always go forward in the financials.
And it's probably more of a board question than an Alex question, because I know, Alex, you're more than happy to draw whatever financial reports we ask. As a board, do we want to start monitoring that every month to have a visual of what our collective bond debt is and how we're looking at that each year, every 5 years, how many slots we're looking into as far as paying that amount off? Because it almost seems like the way I saw this report, looking over it, why I wanted to kind of ask the questions is, it seems like even as we're claiming the full proceeds and putting it into our budget to use in addition to the sales tax of the SPOS, we're only accounting under the liability, the expenditure aspect of it, an incremental amount of the payments, and then that pushes the majority of the payments into the future and kind of out of sight for us as a board. And so is there a way that we can maybe account for, hey, even though in this 5-year period we're only budgeting $64.8 million in principal and interest payments, because that's what's due in the 5 years, if we're going to be using the bond proceeds, $193.3 million, plus the sales tax receipts of $235.4 million, and putting all of that together in a spending plan, it seems like we're spending all the bond proceeds in 5 years, but not really having a full plan in paying back the full amount of the principal and interest payments. So is there a way we want to keep our eyes on that, or is that something that we'll deal with in 2032 during the next SPOS?
I'm not changing, I don't think we need to change anything. I think that our CFO is keeping an eye on it. He'll report to us if we have any issues, correct? Okay.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor of approval of the financials, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Seeing none, financials are approved. Flint?
Okay, thank you, board members. We'll move on to board policy JAA, equal educational opportunities. Y'all, we have discussed this thing on the table. Minor adjustments that we sent to y'all, but not really in the content. So this time we would recommend approval as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of the revision of board policy JAA as presented, please raise your right hand. Opposed? Seeing none.
Thank you, board members. We'll move into the discussion topics and presentations. And as I mentioned earlier, we're really excited to continue this year in highlighting schools that, as you know, we now have policy on board governance and accountability around all of our academics in schools. This is one of the schools, in addition to others that we'll be highlighting, that's leading the way around that accountability. So we're very proud of what Greenbrier High School has been doing, and we wanted to provide the principal and a number of individuals to talk with you about what's happening there. So before I get into too much of this, because Mr. Cummins wants to say some of this, also I'll ask Mr. Cummins to come forward, and all the folks from Greenbrier, thank y'all for being here, and those of y'all who are also going to be presenting, if y'all want to come on up, we'd love to have you. So again, looking forward to what y'all have to say, and I think we got a video too to kick it off. So thank you and congratulations on all your success.
Good evening again, board members. It's my pleasure to continue to share with you the exciting initiative that we've launched in Columbia County. Just continue to spotlight our exciting schools that are inspiring achievement. This celebration is not only about the innovative programs and impactful initiatives that are happening in our schools, it's also about the dedicated educators who bring learning to life and also the growth of students each and every day. Tonight, we're proud to shine the light on Greenbrier High School, where there's a strong commitment to academic excellence and student success in creating a vibrant culture of achievement. And that's something that we want to celebrate. So we're going to begin tonight with a short video that highlights the incredible work that's happening at Greenbrier High School. Followed by, you're going to get some words from dedicated principal, Mr. Chip Fulmer. And we also going to hear from two very dedicated teachers, Ms. Stephanie Fry and Ms. Andrea Smock, who's going to tell you how they're impacting students in the classroom and how they're being impacted by things at Greenbrier High School as well. And then we'll proceed from there. So without further ado, we're going to turn it over. We'll start the video.
Things that Greenbrier High School is the fact that we're a family. I remember sitting in a leadership team meeting and Mr. Fulmer asked us, what words come to mind, and everybody agreed that was so important. Relationships matter, and that transcends not just to colleagues, but especially to our students. And for our students to achieve the way they do, they need to know that people care about their learning and them. And that helps our students grow, and that helps us all grow together as educators and helping our students be the best that they can be.
From academics to athletics, we've been so successful. This is our 30th year, so we're celebrating that milestone. And just the level of consistency and excellence, I've adopted something that has been so special, that has been built from our community and our feeder schools to us. And now it's my job with our team to maintain that and push our kids forward. We've had 6 out of 7 director scouts in athletics for having the most successful team in the region. Successful programs in the region. We have almost doubled over the last few years our number of pathway completers in our CCBOE programs. Our AP numbers are skyrocketing high, and our achievement level has been so impressive. So we're completely inspired by the shared accountability that we have from the district to the building level to our classrooms. It's really making a difference.
I mean, the people here, the way we depend on each other, the way we pull together for each other. Relationships matter. I mean, you start there and you meet people where they're at, and then the growth can just naturally be more effective, and the collaboration can be more effective. And I know on this hallway and the other hallways that I collaborate with, that is a huge piece of why I love being here. And the people also include our students, because they're why we're here every day, and they're why we do what we do. And I love coming every day and getting inspired by that group of students that I walk in the classroom and see. It just absolutely sparks something in me that nothing else does.
The sense of urgency is always there, and the pressure's there. That is good. It's what drives us. Like our teacher said before, they are our shining stars. They're what keeps the glue together, and our students are wonderful. They come here, they compete, they want to learn, and they challenge us as educators. And time again, our teachers step up to the plate and deliver a product that our community is so proud of.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, and what a pleasure it is to be invited to a board meeting this evening. I was looking, and the first thing that came to my mind, it's only the second time I've seen the video, and I'm so proud that no one had a cell phone on them as they're walking. It was great. No, but additionally, we're extremely thankful and inspired by the dedication and commitment by our teachers and staff members for the attention they give to each student. That was stressed by Dr. Flint this year. We'd like to take a few minutes to highlight some of the characteristics that have contributed to our success as we continue to embrace our district's mission to lead the nation in educational excellence where every student is engaged, enriched, and inspired. At Greenbrier, the mission has taken a life of its own, and it sounds like this, and I quote, "Do what you do, go Pack." A phrase coined by Mr. Mike Jones. Yeah, it's a challenge that echoes through our halls every morning on the announcements. It can be heard as a rallying cheer at our games, before tests, before academic competitions, and any occasion where our PAC members need to be remembered who we are and what we do, because what we do always focuses on excellence. It is this determination from our staff and students to strive for our personal best that drives us. At Greenbrier, we're in constant competition with ourselves. Our goal each day is to be better than we were the day before, and it's the mindset that has contributed to Greenbrier receiving recognitions at the county level, the state, the national, and this year, even worldwide level. Our instructional focus is geared towards a rigorous curriculum with very high standards. Our teachers own these challenges, and here are just a few examples that demonstrate when accountability is embraced at all levels and higher performance drives your school culture. Just on that video, the STEM team, you saw where they've captured titles in the Southeast region for multiple projects presented nationally in STEM showcases. Our NJRTC, for the first time, academic and drill team qualified for the Nationals for the first time in 30 years. Our CCRPI rankings indicate increasing college readiness, and our gap closure signals success in meeting the needs of all subgroups. We're coming off 100 in gap closure, and at the high school level, or at any level, something to be very proud of. We've had recognitions beyond our borders for the students selected for the AP Art Design exhibit this year, which is given to only 51 students worldwide. A continual increase in Governor's Honor students in theater excellence, with multiple students receiving Schuler Awards for outstanding ensemble and best musical direction. Our CTAE department continues to increase student pathway completers with over 310 in recent years, with 177 earning industry recognition certifications. And our cybersecurity consistently ranks among the top tiers in all competitions, with our Cyber Patriot team ranked in the top 3 in multiple state championships. And last but certainly not least, our athletics continues to succeed at the regional and state levels with multiple championships and the Director's Cup recognizing the top overall outstanding athletic program in the region. This success is a testament to the dedication and collective efforts of our teachers, our coaches, support staff, and administrators, each fully committed to our county's ongoing focus on increasing instructional rigor and student engagement. Greenbrier has truly embraced the belief that our district is capable of leading the nation in educational excellence. Joining me this evening are the reasons why I stand here, because these are just two of the outstanding educators, the outstanding examples that helps our students thrive. These educators embody our district's vision, our own school vision, and the passion, professionalism, and impact they make on the classroom is impeccable. Please join in welcoming Ms. Stephanie Fry from our math department and Ms. Andrea Small from our English.
Good evening, I'm Stephanie Fry. I teach 134 geometry and AP pre-calculus students. I am one of 14 of the strongest math teachers that I've ever worked with. This is the third school that I've been at, and the best department, collaborative to work with. I absolutely love them. So glad to be able to represent them tonight. One of the school goals for Greenbrier is to help fine-tune our students' writing abilities. So now our students are writing in all classes across the entire school, even in math. We are writing in the CER model, which is the idea where they are supposed to make a claim, state evidence, and provide reasoning to go with that evidence. When we were rolling this out at the beginning of the year, I realized that for the last 2 years in pre-calculus, I've been teaching the CER method for answering pre-response questions already, because College Board actually uses the same model for their expectations on their pre-response questions. So by rolling this out in my geometry classes, I feel like I am better preparing them for their future AP courses as well. The last few years, I've been part of the ACE case building team for geometry. We are using the ACE case fluid sequence daily to drive our decision making and what we teach, what we don't teach, what should we go deeper in, and how we should feed our students with the topics that we cover in our math classes. One of the things that's really important in the ACE case is the idea of reasoning. We have to have our students explain. And I did a quick search, because I know my math ACE case quite well, but I kind of opened up the U.S. history and some of the English ones just to see, and did a quick search, and explain was 90 times mentioned in the U.S. history and 81 times mentioned in the world history ACE case. So explaining is very important, and providing reasoning is something that I really hope that my students take from my class. Because they're no longer like following a pre-existing set of rules. They're being more thoughtful and more engaged in the lessons I hope they have to be lifelong learners. So we hope for all our kids, as you mentioned earlier.
I was just gonna comment, I can see your genuine excitement for it, and I think
I adore it with math. Like,
well, that's
I
what
don't all love math as much as I do, but really it's just a matter of thinking. This mom has some ideas for English.
As an English teacher, it thrills me when my students are engaged in writing in all of their classes, because as you know, writing is a form of communication that our students will use long after they've left our classrooms. Through using the writing process school-wide, we're providing opportunities for our students to sort through multiple modes of information, make informed decisions, evaluate their decisions and the decisions of others through things like peer editing, and develop quality products that they are proud of. This reinforces Mrs. Fry's points about our students taking ownership, not following the pre-existing set of rules, and making sense of the world around them. Some of the ways that we enrich in our classrooms at Greenbrier is, in the words of our students, we don't just teach them to be basic. We motivate them to love learning and to work hard, even if that means productively struggling, so that they can become the best they can be and become people who find and make opportunities to enrich every facet of their lives. One specific way that we do this in our classroom is through the frequent use of Illuminate. By using this tool for assessments, we are able to save valuable time while giving students immediate feedback that's authentic and providing them a growing snapshot of their strengths and weaknesses, how they progress over time. I can also immediately use that feedback to guide remediation and enrich instruction and activities. As far as inspiring, for the past 2 years, I've been privileged to be able to inspire my students by showing them the many film industry options and opportunities they have living in the state of Georgia. I teach dramatic writing and literature to seniors, a course endorsed by the Georgia Film Academy. Did you know that Georgia boasts the following accolades? We are number 3 in the nation for total number of productions. We are in the top 5 in the world for number of productions, and most impressive, Georgia is number 1 in the world for major feature films and number 1 in the world for top grossing films. If you've ever seen a Georgia peach at the end of the credits when you've been watching a movie, all of those stats are live. Unfortunately, an insufficient workforce threatens the success of the industry in our state. Because Columbia County offers this course, we are giving our students an advantage when competing with other high school graduates across the nation. Students leave this class with industry knowledge, networking, and a rich portfolio that they can use when applying for college, internships, and jobs. And a couple of the things that are in the portfolio is a play they've written, a short film, a narrative video game pitch, a television series pitch, and a pilot episode pitch that they've all written themselves. And if they decide they don't want to go into the film industry, they still leave the class with a toolbox of analytical, communicative, and creative skills that will aid them in whatever path they choose. And as teachers, we have our own toolbox that Ms. Fry talked a little bit about in our county's ACE case curriculum. The county ACE case is being utilized in all of our classrooms to aid teachers in cross-county collaboration, in pacing, and in providing much-needed valuable resources. This is a valuable resource for both veteran and new teachers. I've been fortunate enough to develop the dramatic writing ACE case, which will be extremely helpful for any teacher who becomes certified by the Georgia Film Academy to teach this course, considering it's pretty unfamiliar territory for most. Valuable district resources like this, along with the support of dedicated leaders and colleagues that I get to work with every single day, make it possible for us to keep doing what we do as we strive for excellency every day. Thank you for taking the time to listen to all the things that show you how we do what we do and the reasons we love Greenbrier High School. Go Pack!
As you guys have heard, we are very proud of the work that's happening at Greenbrier High School. As you've heard from Mr. Fulmer, Ms. Fry, and Ms. Smock, they are setting high expectations, and we are expecting high achievement. So we are excited about the work happening at Greenbrier High School. So thank you guys for listening.
I'm pretty sure all the teachers they had the first 10 years. Right, Ms. Jackson, Dr. Campbell? Mr. Medley, you still here?
Well, as y'all can see, extremely impressive. I wish we could have stayed and given them an hour or two, and we have more of that with other schools across the district, but thank y'all for taking the time to share that with us tonight. And you probably heard some of the things, board members, that you work on here. We know it all happens in the classroom, but hopefully some of that work that you hear about in some of these meetings makes its way to supporting some of the work they do. So congratulations on that. The next topic is our budget and legislative outlook. I'll let Mr. Casado do this and then transition into the board oversight and annual audit review. I did want to get up and just say a few things. You know, if you look at a very clean and well-driven financial process within a district, it's not something that happens by chance. So we're very fortunate to not only have Mr. Casado as our CFO, but a very strong staff in the business department that manages with very few people for a district this size to a very strong level of financial stewardship for our community. So I just want to say, Mr. Casado, thank you and congratulations again. You get kind of used to hearing these audit updates like this, but it is something that we're very proud of, and it's not something that every district sees across the state. And so let me also thank our SME and Mr. Snyder. We're going to be looking forward to hearing from you. Y'all always do a great job, and appreciate you coming tonight. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Casado, and we'll hear a little bit about our upcoming budget, which is one of our most favorite times. So Mr. Casado.
Good evening, board members. As you know, the first day of the legislative session began Monday, January 12th. I'm pleased to provide you a high-level overview of what happens at the Capitol during the legislative session each year, as well as a preview of topics that will most likely be discussed this year that will or could have an impact on our budget here in Columbia County. This by no means will encompass all budgetary changes or laws that will have an impact on us, but just a high-level overview of those things as they stand today. I'll also present a draft budget calendar and provide an update on the fiscal year 2025 per pupil expenditures for the school district. So during the legislative session each year, elected officials have several things to accomplish. In short, they must amend the current fiscal year's budget, so fiscal year 26. They must set a budget for the next fiscal year, 27. And they must, of course, consider new legislation. Any changes to the state's amended fiscal year 2026 budget that impacts us will most likely require an amendment to our budget to accommodate. We'll have to see. For example, as I'm sure you've heard, the governor recommended a $2,000 stipend in his amended fiscal year 2026 budget proposal to the legislature for teachers and other categories of employees. We've not received any guidance from the state on this yet. I don't anticipate we will until they pass that amended budget, but we'll bring a recommendation to you on that once we know more. The budget and initiatives that pass for fiscal year 27 will have to incorporate in the district's budget accordingly. The amended 2026 budget plus any new priorities the state funds gives us a really strong indication of our revenue budget for next fiscal year as far as QBE is concerned. So that certainly helps. Before you use a broad list of legislative items that will be discussed this session that could impact education, there's no telling at this point how much traction any of these will gain legislatively and or what impact they would have to us and other school districts quite yet. And I won't read those to you, but a lot of those are very familiar topics that come up every year, and so no surprise necessarily there. While we gather more information from the state in the coming weeks, we'll also be working on our budget for next fiscal year. As a reminder, approximately 90% of the district's general fund budget is salaries and benefits. And as I said, we will have to adjust our budget accordingly, certainly for any of those matching benefits that come down from the state. For example, TRS is increasing from 21.91% this fiscal year to 22.32% next year. We already know that. I estimate that this increase will raise the TRS budget for general fund employees by approximately $1 million. Additionally, we've heard that the state health benefit employer contribution per member per month rate will increase from $1,885 a month to $2,028 a month. That brings the total from $22,620 per year to $24,336 a year. That's a 7.5% increase over this year that we're in. And as a reminder, we were only at $11,340 per year per employee just a few years ago, a few fiscal years ago. So it has now over doubled in cost to the district in just 3 or 4 years. I estimate this will increase the health insurance budget for the general fund by approximately $4 million. On the revenue side, approximately 60% of general fund revenue is provided by the state through QDE. The other 40% is local taxes, with the majority coming from ad valorem property taxes. We also receive some other local taxes, such as title ad valorem on cars, investment earnings, things of that nature. The millage rate and its impact on ad valorem property tax revenue is the primary deciding factor you as the Board of Education controls when it comes to funding education in the county. Our millage rate is currently 16.234 mils for this year, down from 17.35 in 2022, and it was as high as 18.3 in 2020, where it remained there for several years. Slide before you is a draft budget calendar. With this calendar, the Board of Education will receive a full budget presentation at the April 21st meeting. We then have to advertise and conduct 2 public input meetings. The first scheduled for the morning of April 28th at 8, and the second scheduled for May 12th at 5:30. We would then ask for tentative approval at the conclusion of that second public input meeting, and that would put us on track for final approval of the budget at the June 16th meeting, and then as always, millage rate will be shortly thereafter, with most likely finalized in July. Fiscal year 2025 per pupil expenditure data was recently released. The district with the highest per pupil expenditure in the state spent $37,386 per FTE last fiscal year. The district with the lowest per pupil expenditure in the state spent $10,643 per FTE last year. For comparison purposes, the state average was $15,868.50. Columbia County had the 7th lowest per pupil expenditure last fiscal year at $12,155 per FTE. That's up from $11,546 in FY24, which at the time was the 6th lowest in the state, so we've gone up a notch, but down from the 9th lowest in FY 2023. Columbia County had the lowest per pupil expenditure of any district in the state with 5,000 or more FTE. That's all I have for you this evening on this. More to come, of course, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I see in our audit that it says the state of Georgia revenues and reserves have been reported to remain strong, and then it showed that our state revenue came in at $10 million higher than we had originally budgeted. And I know we had talked about that extensively, and I've kind of seen that be consistent from year to year. Do we anticipate that state revenues are going to continue to remain strong again?
I do think so. From every indication we have from the state, theirs are remaining strong, so I would imagine that would be the same for us. But it's hard to know from that original budget passed in May what may come through the amended fiscal year budget with the state that we may then have to amend for down at our level, which would account for maybe some of that discrepancy last year.
And then just one other point that says the net tax digest has grown 46.57% over the last 5 years, and the average collection rate remains between 95 and 98% over the same years. From what you're seeing, is that going to continue? I guess what I'm trying to say is, are we going into this next budgeting cycle kind of under the same parameters as we went into the one last year with the state funding coming, federal funding coming, tax base growing.
I don't know.
Anything that would change that significantly that we should be thinking about right now?
I don't, in my opinion, I don't foresee property tax revenue growing at the same pace that it has since COVID era and all the inflation of the U.S. economy and the states have seen. Delinquent taxes, though, is always something I look at, and it remains pretty strong in our favor at that, 96, 97, 98%, which is great. And we normally get it eventually. It might just come in the next year when that property owner is able to pay. So I don't, other than maybe local tax revenue and the digest increasing, I don't see many changes coming in the future.
Mr. Casado, if I could maybe ask you to elaborate a little bit, because now remember, we're funded with that 60% through QBE, and that isn't going to change unless the state approves a change to the QBE formula. Now, there are some outside areas of that, as in the form of grants and other revenue that comes in, but those have remained relatively stable. So with the increase at the state level, we typically haven't seen that come through in a lot of additional revenue unless it is a flow through in payment to individuals. And in this case, you've probably heard of that, the $2,000. So that would be one way. And then, of course, we're hearing about the rebate on taxes. And so we're hearing of that too. But as far as a school district, we're not going to see, because the state had that increase, that's not going to be a flow-through increase of 60% of that to the school district. That typically doesn't happen, and you can expand on anything you want to, but I think that helps kind of clear that up.
No, you're right. The state funds a lot of things, education being one of them, and so those don't exactly correlate always, but you're seeing an amended fiscal year budget for 26 and a 27 proposed budget by the state that looks like it's going to continue to fully fund QBE in the way that they fully fund it, which isn't really fully funded, but by the QBE law, they're fully funding that obligation, if you will. So.
Thank you. I find it helpful to kind of see that we're going into a similar situation this year as we did last year. That we're not, crystal ball aside, we're not looking at any major changes. So.
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you for that assessment.
That one. Well, I just want, did you say that the health insurance premium is going up by 7.5%?
Yes.
Just the health?
Yes.
Again.
They said 4 million potential increase?
Yeah, it's over 2,000 a month now, and so when I do that rough math, increase to the general fund's expenditure budget for that, I estimate about 4 million. Of course, we will receive some of that back on the revenue side through QBE for funded positions through QBE, if those teachers take health insurance or whatever employees funded that way.
How much is that?
It's probably about 70%, I would say, maybe, of the total increase in cost. So we may be looking at a net of another over $1 million or so that we're going to have to pick up locally.
The $2,000 one-time stipend or whatever you're going to call it, can you just roughly, what percentage of our employees are state funded versus local?
So the vast majority, but the vast majority of your certified teachers are state funded. You have federal ones that are not, because they're not going to pay us for a teacher that's also federally funded. There are other administrative positions at schools, some counselors, nurses, bus drivers, things like that. So I'd say probably 80% of our total employee population, 70 to 80, is also state funded, which correlates with how much I anticipate they'll pay for the increases on those benefits.
And the 40% homestead, I believe, the portion of the revenues are 40%. About what is that number? Similar?
How much of the Avalon is homestead properties? I don't remember now. I remember it being less than some counties around us. I want to say maybe 40%, 50% of the total
60% maybe of the total tax base here in Columbia County is from homestead, and the other 40 is from non-homestead businesses, things of that nature. But I'll double check on that one. I can't remember it off the top.
Just to clarify, as we're talking about those the non-certified staff, and I know the audit on the same portion says the employer share cost went from $18,960 up from $11,340. But it says, however, in the fiscal year 2025 budget, lawmakers accelerate the implementation of the increase for it to be fully implemented on January 1st, 2025. So does that mean we've already done that, or we have more adjustments to make in this next budget?
So they increased to $18,960 per year. Initially, when they announced it, they were going to phase it in for non-certified employees, but then they took it from like a 3-year or 4-year to just a 2-year, and they did it very quickly. So that's what that reference. We've since added that increased to $22,000 per employee, and now they're announcing $24,000.
There's another. Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Are you talking about adjusting contributions for the employee at all towards health insurance? Hopefully not, but has that been contemplated?
Us?
Is that the only question on that?
We don't control the amount that we pay on behalf of the employee, or that the employee pays for their health insurance. All of that is decided at the state level.
So we can't, okay.
Yeah.
We have no say.
Right.
I guess has the state adjusted it would be the question.
Have you heard anything about that at all?
The employees side has gone up, not by these percentages at all, but incrementally their contributions have gone up as well, but not nearly like we've seen it on the employer side.
They're not proportionate. Just
No.
Okay.
No, I think maybe the increase last year, it varied by plan, but that employees paid was maybe 4%, 5% on average, something like that more.
This is probably a good time just to mention, we don't have time to talk about it tonight, but we're going to be discussing this cost further in an update probably next month with the cost of insurance and some options that we may have. It's not on the financial side of it, but on the hiring side of it, there are some adjustments we'd like to discuss with the board, and we'll probably bring that to the next board meeting. I think we've been working on that, Mr. Wright, for quite some time now. So we've been watching that. It's a huge expense, and so it merits at least some discussion on how we could decrease that from our cost and employees' cost.
Thank you, Mr. Casada.
Well, I have John Snyder, he's audit manager at SME, is going to come up now and give us just a broad level oversight of the annual audit for fiscal year 25 and the financial report, that's been issued or will be issued shortly after this meeting. So John's here to give his presentation and answer any questions you may have.
Welcome, Mr. Pine.
Thank you. Appreciate the chance to be here with you. And I have a brief outline of some qualifications, some things I have to share with you. And then always happy to make a dialogue and entertain any questions you may have. So first of all, may I clarify that, has everyone seen the financial statements? You received the draft? Okay. So the document, I think it's appropriate to talk about how literacy and math skills are more words than numbers. And then it's more literacy and math skills understanding. First thing we want to discuss is responsibilities. So management is responsible for themselves and the internal requirement around the financial statements. And that's our superintendent, with those responsibilities and staff, they're responsible for the financial statements themselves. The board is responsible for providing oversight and management to ensure that they do what they should. And as an independent auditor, our responsibility is to provide an opinion as well as the financial statements are properly stated. So that's the roles that we all play. What defined in our audit report of financial statements is that we have arrived at a clean opinion. That clean opinion is kind of an industry knowledge, but favorable opinion. So in our opinion, the financial statements do correctly present the financial position of the school system. Now, another thing I want to mention, some of the things that you were mentioning from the audit report are actually in the management discussion and analysis. That's the section that comes right after the audit report that has Roman numeral page numbers. Management discussion and analysis is also prepared by management, and it's management's opportunity to put the financial statements in some context. Those pages are not audited. Our professional responsibilities require us to make sure that any numbers that are in the management discussion and analysis and in the financial statements are consistent, and we have done that. But we do not audit our management discussion and analysis. Basic financial statements begin on page 1, so around numeral 1 of the paragraph 1, and you'll find 3 sets of financial statements. First, government-wide, which includes things like long-term debt, capital assets, and then the fund level, which does not include those things, followed by the proprietary fund, which is workshop. So, immediately following those basic financial statements, you find the notes, the required note disclosures. And there's a ton of information in the disclosures that are described as Exhibit J. And for instance, on page 24, you see note 7 for long-term liabilities. And this is an important note that we like to point out. It actually rolls forward the general obligation bonds from July 1, 24 through June 30, 25, and breaks it down into bond premiums. It also includes other long-term liabilities. And then on the following page, 25, there's a schedule that shows the principal and interest payments through 2037 for those bonds. So a fair amount of detail. Doesn't break up into individual payments, like I mentioned. There are 2 payments per year for each bond. But also, towards the back of the document, you're going to see a compliance section. The last few pages. There's some important stuff back here, too. There are 2 additional reports. One is the independent auditor's report on internal controls over financial reporting. This is a governmental auditing standards report. This is where we would disclose any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And those 2 things are defined in the report. This report doesn't end with an affirmative opinion like the first one does, but we can say that we have not discovered any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. So that is the desired outcome from that report. Following that report, we have the independent auditor's report on compliance to each major program under uniform guidance. This is your federal expenditures. So there's a process for selecting major programs. We select different programs each year. But once we identify the major programs, we do a higher level of compliance testing on those. And this is where we would disclose findings and question costs, things like that. And we have none to disclose the findings or questions and costs. The final report that I want to be sure to mention to you is that we performed an examination engagement on these loss expenditures. So the state requires that anyone who in the school system that exhibits over a certain level of loss expenditures have this type of examination performed. And so it's really a compliance report once again where we issue an opinion on whether the school system is expending those dollars in accordance with the state's regulations. And we have again, a positive outcome on that. So that's 4 separate reports that we're issuing, all with clean outcomes. Do you have any questions about those reports?
Thank you for clarifying. I think a lot of times there's some confusion about the word opinion. And I think if I understand you correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying it's an opinion on how well we are following the laws with our reporting practices and spending practices, that we're following the law, not necessarily an opinion on if we are spending wisely or unwisely. It's just if we're following the laws correctly.
I would say counties are really bad about selling hairs. So,
I'm going to say what I say going for.
so the opinion, let's start from the basic audit report. That's the most fundamental document, which is personally in the June County, that's ethical contents. That's where the opinion is. And whenever we audit a construction company or a nonprofit organization or government, the product of that audit is that opinion. And it is an opinion on whether or not the financial statements are properly stated. So it's not too broad, so we become an opinion. It's really focused on the financial statements. But we audit financial statements and certain supplementary schedules and no disclosures to make sure that they're correct. And in order for them to be correct, they're sort of downstream from the accounting. So the accounting internal controls and processes have to be in place upstream so that the final annual financial statements will be correct. So I don't want to be too broad with defining what the audit opinion is, but it's fair to say that a good audit opinion on financial statements is a great indicator that the financial controls are working.
Mr. Casada, given any kind of notice beforehand that there's some things that are going to be potentially I told them say they are, where they have the opportunity to make corrections, or is it something that there's no opportunity to make before the audit is done?
There is a process. So Mr. Casado gives me the financial statements in a series of Excel files and Word documents. And as I go through them, if I find a misspelled word or a typo, then I don't necessarily have to audify it and just email Alex and say, hey, I have these things. If we find something that is wrong, then we have a lot of evidence for reality. As you can imagine, if I find that something was off by $1 or $5, I wouldn't bring that to you as a finding. But we have levels of materiality depending on what component of the financial statements we're dealing with, where we have standard procedures for communicating those findings. But we didn't have any issues that would come to that level. But this is a good time to talk about something that did happen during the audit, which is we had a little bit of a dialogue about the gas harassment. During planning for the audit, I had asked Alex, he was aware of gas because the governmental accounting standards for pronounced 101, and he had, wasn't certain yet how it would fully impact the school system. He was able to go to Division of School Board officials, which is called the gas wild time. And when he came back from that, he pumped the brakes on the audit and said, hey, I need to report this new liability coming from this. So we stopped that process. He was able to come up with the necessary adjustments. I was able to figure out the necessary procedures from audit. And so you see in the financial statements a disclosure of the Deal County Principles, which is SNAP 101, which relates to compensated absences, and the Deal County standards require that you report a liability for future unused sick time. Well, it's not used, it's future sick time. So it could be, and again, iterative and collaborative process at times. If I were to encounter any sort of fraud or anything such as that, I would not wait until the date of the board meeting. I'll contact Chairman Eagle directly. If I found something that was in the condition. So does that answer your question? So that's a long answer. I'm not about this.
Okay.
Let's just find it.
I have a question about Schedule 9 and very background is page 54 with the 2022 East Lost program. This is kind of an ongoing question, and I think you're probably the right person to help me get clarification.
Yeah, all of the
I don't know.
53, yes. I struggle with this page under the program there. 53 and 54?
Yes, I'm looking at it. I'll just start with 54. It's the same question for both. But, and I would see that there's a difference between the original estimated cost, $160 million, and the current estimated cost of $313.5 million for the 2022-2027 East Lost. And I know the notes are on there, but what documents are used or looked at to determine that original estimated cost, and then what documents are looked at to determine the current estimated cost to kind of help explain why those are so different?
You know, Mr. Casada may have joined in here, but the original estimated cost, I believe, is going to be coming from the original cost resolution of the original plan, and the current estimated cost would include change orders mostly. I don't know if there's a particular reason why most of that increase has been renovated with the schools. I don't know exactly why that one increased. I don't know.
Well, I'm wondering if that goes back to the financial statement that I had asked about earlier, where we're counting the bond revenue in addition to the collection. So it almost, it doesn't quite double our budget, but it makes it significantly more. Is that part of that, to why they're so different?
If I may. So I've expressed before that these SPA schedules are a lot, they're formatted. Now, they must be, I can't really change much of this except the information that's relevant to us, kind of the outline formats that it is. That original estimated cost column cannot exceed the maximum amount that the voters approved in the East Lost resolution that was voted on to authorize that collection. So in this case, that was 160 for that East Lost cycle. But as time progresses, as it goes on, there are other revenue streams that come in that help support the building program, if you will, or that East Lost cycle, state revenue interest, you may issue general obligation bonds and spend some of those heavily up front. And those types of things go in, and as the years go by, the current estimated cost column is adjusted accordingly for those. So it is an inherently flawed, if you will, schedule, if you ask me. I don't really like it that much. I wish that they would change it a little bit, because it certainly begs the question, if you were to just pull this up and look at it, the same type of questions that you're asking. Yeah.
So to confirm, make sure I'm understanding that current estimated cost, that's what we look at and say, hey, this is what these projects are going to cost for what we anticipate spending, and that first column is locked in legally at the amount that's lost approved.
It could be less, I guess. You could put less there, but never more. And that's just how I've always been trained to prepare, schedule, whatever. Any auditor is not necessarily as me. They came in and looked at this and said, your original, how could we put more than how much you authorized to lay?
It's an accounting limitation, that first column.
I mean, I think so.
Thank you.
I don't want to get into the weeds, but if you were to look at page 5. Now, in the current year, there were no bond proceeds. After year-end, there were bond proceeds. But there's a section on this. This is called the Statement of Revenues, Expenditures, and Changes in Fund Balance. A human would call it an income statement. At the bottom, where it says Other Financing Sources, that section is where you put bond proceeds. Because at the fund level, which is how the school system operates throughout the year, you don't have long-term liabilities. And so this might sound crazy, but the bond proceeds are considered revenues at the fund level. And so that would be perhaps where some of the confusion is coming from, with the bond proceeds coming in on those more current financial statements. But on page 1, on the statement of net position, the actual government-wide, is what we call this, balance sheet, you can see the bonds payable due within 1 year of $10,895,000, and bonds payable due in more than 1 year of $125,210,000. So it's reflected there. So I say all that to say that the annual financial statements are presented in 2 different types of accounting methods. And in the MD&A, on page Roman numeral V, how do people say that? Do you say Roman numeral 5 or? You can see columns here, one for government-wide statements, one for government funds, and then one for proprietary funds. If you kind of ignore proprietary funds for just a moment, the accounting basis and measurement focus is accrual accounting and economic resources focus for government-wide. That's where you have long-term assets and long-term liabilities, whereas your government funds are called modified accrual. So generally, assets expected to be used and liabilities expected to come due within 1 year is how fund level accounting is done. And so that may be a little counterintuitive if you're not accustomed to it, because you only issue the government-wide full accrual financial statements once a year, which are the page 1 and 2 in the financial statements.
On page 5, that bonds payable, is that principal only, or is that principal and interest?
We're talking Roman numeral 5, or?
The one with the long term over 1 year.
Okay, so the
Page 1, I think it was.
page 1, yes.
Page 1.
No, interest is not included in liability. Interest is what we consider the cost of money. That's the time value of money over time. So that's principal balances that are reflected on the balance sheet. Interest is recognized as it has occurred. So you don't recognize the interest until time passes. But that note disclosure, note 7 on page 24, 25. Page 25, you can see the future obligations broken up between principal, the interest, and the bond's premium, because the bonds were sold at a premium.
So that number will not necessarily, that won't match principal and interest, correct?
On the balance sheet, the interest is not reflected, future interest payments are not reflected on the balance sheet. But if you look at on page 25, if you look at, yeah, you see the $10,895,000, that is what's on page 1.
Okay.
In the current amount. And then if you subtract the $10,895,000 from the 136, you get the long-term amount.
Thank you so much. You are so helpful.
Just to make sure I understand, I don't know what page number this is on. All the numbers that should be in there are in there, in the right place. It's clean audit, and Mr. Casado has done what he's supposed to do.
Yes, ma'am, that's right. The financial statements are prepared in accordance with governmental accounting standards and audited in accordance with governmental auditing standards. And in our opinion, everything as it should be.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Casado.
Thank you both. These are probably my favorite document every year. Now that I'm getting to know it more. So.
All right. Very well.
Thank you, Alex, for making it probably easy for me to do.
Thank you again, Mr. Snyder and Mr. Posada. Thank you for all the time you take to get that audit where it needs to be every year. We're going to move on from there into staff reports, and we have a couple of these, a lot of good information. We'll try to get through them as timely as possible. A number of these were requests for the board, so we're going to try to get through these, and as you have other questions.
Dr. Flynn, can we just take a short break?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be a good time.
Yeah, let's just take a short break. We've been going for a little while, and some of us might need to wash our hands. The second 2 hours of our meeting.
Okay,
We'll come back to order. Dr. Flint, turn it back to you.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. So under staff reports tonight, we're going to start out with a behavior and discipline update. At this point, we're going to look at this point in the year's data or at the end of last semester's data. We also look at this at year end, but this will be very similar to what it would be looking like over the last 4 years. I know Ms. Jackson is also going to reiterate this as well, but we take the behavior, helping to teach proper behavior, but we also take misbehavior and consequences extremely serious. At no time do we not make a required report and or a required charge. So in some cases, tonight we're going to be talking about behavior consequences and not the legal side charges. However, you know, we have our SROs and the chief in the room who is a separate entity to this, and we'll look at the legal side of that. So we take all of that extremely serious, and I hope our community sees that, especially in our notifications and letters that we send out when things happen, where we need to make those notifications. After that, we're going to move into a special education update. We have, obviously, as you know, have had a number of these updates over the last 2 years. As a matter of fact, through our Excellence in Governments Institute, that was one of the areas of focus that y'all took up. So for the past year, that work has been going on steadily. Y'all know from the discussions, not only in board meetings, but also through that work, that we're coming up on a few changes. We want to make sure that we bring those to you tonight in anticipation of not only this semester changes, but also some changes that we're going to be asking for in the budget moving into next year. And I'll let them get into the specifics of that. And then we're going to finally finish up on the staff report side with a staffing update. This is that time of year, even though we're going to be going down in students, staffing is still extremely important to us. We don't have a lot of folks leave, but we do have people retire and relocate. And so we will be needing to hire staff. And from this presentation forward, we'll be able to hire those staff that we need from people transitioning out of the district. And so those are the three that are coming up. Thank staff for all your work on this. A lot of work went into these three, and then I'll be back up after these. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Jackson.
Good evening, thank you. I just wanted to give you an update on student behavior for the first semester. I do want us to keep in mind, like Dr. Flint said too, we have a little over 28,000 students, and by and large, it's a small percentage that's not making good decisions, and over 99%, and some even more than that are making good decisions. So when we look at some of this behavior, certainly we have to address it, but we also want to keep in mind that a lot of our kids make the right decisions. So consequences for the code of conduct violations vary, and schools use progressive discipline. And they use everything from teacher detention to lunch detention, after school and Saturday detention, in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension. And there are those occasions where they have to go and be recommended for either long-term or expulsion, long-term suspension or suspension based on the severity of that consequence. So, and we'll talk about hearings in just a minute as well. This first graph or chart shows you the state reportable offenses or incidents. State reportable incidents are required to be reported to the state at the end of the year because they're significant in terms of school climate and maintaining safe schools. There are times when students may have one incident but multiple state reportable offenses. For example, a kid could be caught with drugs and then decide to act disorderly and have two state reportables with one incident occurring. So also you can have a student being caught and multiple students being involved in that incident. For example, alcohol, since it's up there as a state offense number 1. But you could have a kid bring the alcohol to school, give the alcohol to several different students, And even though that counts as one event, as far as the state's concerned, those 4 or 5 kids involved all have to face the consequences and go to a disciplinary hearing. So those are just things that we often, our administrators and teachers have to keep up with. Categories are listed in our code of conduct in various levels based on their severity. These categories and levels are defined by the state. As you can see, we have had a decrease in several areas on this slide, such as alcohol, disorderly conduct, and fighting, but we have had an increase of drugs and some other categories. I do think we've seen an increase in drugs with the THC vapes. Those have become very prevalent. And we had those vape detectors installed, and certainly students are being caught with those vape detectors. So I do think we've seen an increase because of the THC vapes and the vape detectors. Here are some other categories as defined by the state, with the majority of these offenses, knock on wood, not occurring in our schools. You can see a lot of zeros, but we did want to include the majority of these. And then the next one, we did have an increase in threats this year, as you can see. And an increase in threats, not that it makes it right or more palatable, but any state discipline or behavior conference or discussion you go to, it's statewide, that people have seen an increase in threats, especially after the Appalachia school shooting. People look at threats a little differently. Just a common, what used to be a little chess game people were playing and a student losing and saying, I'm going to kill you, now takes a whole different type of consequence than it once did. And we'll talk about threats a little bit more with our behavior threat assessment. You can see that our number of weapons, which are the knives, did decrease this year. Weapons other, as coded in number 23, just so you know, that includes things like chains, razor blades, tasers, and code 24, other disciplinary infractions. That's, I hate to use the word catch-all, but it does encompass a lot of different things that admin can use. For example, gambling, PDA, parking violations, bus infractions, and violations of Georgia law. If they are accused of a crime off campus, and we think it might impede in the school day or cause some sort of safety concern within the school, we can use number 24 for that one. We're happy to see in this next slide a decline in the area of school attendance. Our administrators and teachers have really focused this year on school attendance, and you can see, as Mr. Casada mentioned, in the budget process, even our legislatures have attendance as part of their priorities. It's been a team approach to include our school nurses. Data from our high school nurse and our clinics, you can see that a lot of our elementary, middle, and high school kids that once might have gone home, because we have a nurse in every school, they're being tended to at the school level, and our nurses are able to kind of guide them back to class and give them the necessary treatment and talking, even with parents, consulting to keep them in class and at school. Academic dishonesty, number 32, you can see an increase in that one. That does include the improper usage of AI. And so we're having to navigate through some of that. And certainly, again, that's the legislative priority as well. Student incivility is another one of those catch-alls. Principals can certainly use that at their discretion. It's defined as insubordination or disrespect to staff members or other students. It includes, but not limited to, refusal to follow staff members' instructions, use of inappropriate language, reporting false information, and then this is a broad one, school disruption. So school disruption can mean a lot of different things to different people. Unapproved items is another area that you can see that we did have a significant increase with. And that's a fairly new state reportable. But it can include anything from toys, toy weapons, pepper spray, fireworks, and that's what I'm about to mention. a lot of admin, or we code that in that area as an inappropriate object or unapproved item, but it could also be under electronic device. So depending on how it was utilized, whether they had it out and used, it does get put or placed in unapproved items at times. Repeated offenses, as you can see, number 36, it does include violations that occur more than once, but it doesn't always have to be the same offense. So it doesn't have to be that perhaps they had student incivility more than 2 times. It could be a combination of offenses of the code of conduct that they have violated. And so after multiple MTSS attempts through that process, redirection, all the different types of progressive discipline, they can have repeated offenses. And sometimes, depending on the severity of that and what level they go through the MTSS process, it could end up at a hearing as well. Principals do have discretion with its student incivility, repeated offenses, and unapproved items. And a lot of that I've already mentioned. So, and now we'll move to student behavior hearings. You can see we did have a significant increase in our student hearings. Consequences for code of conduct violations vary, as we mentioned, and based on the severity, we do have them come to a hearing. The number of hearings have increased, but we feel like, well, we can see that our increase has been in drugs, as you can see them in the state reportables, which our county does. If we still, to this day, if you have drugs, THC, you're going to a hearing. It's not every district does that. So that is an area where we have seen an increase, but that makes sense because it is a state reportable that we do report. Threats, we've already mentioned, we saw that again in state reportables, have been to a hearing. School disruptions, and then entry and re-entry hearings. Again, when we changed that law last year where you have 5 days, you cannot enroll without those behavior records. So we take that seriously. When we get those behavior records, if we need to bring them to a hearing to look at the totality of evidence that's in that record, and perhaps if they left us, went to another school, and are re-entering, then we're going to take them to a hearing and let the hearing officer look at that evidence to see whether we admit them into regular school or to our alternative school, or if we uphold maybe a recommendation that a previous school district had. So that did increase this year, and I do believe it's because of the records and us being diligent with making sure that people that enroll are supposed to be here properly placed. I do think too it's relevant to mention that our increase in hearings, we normally have a huge spike in October. It's October and March is when the behavior, if you were to look at a graph, goes significantly higher. But if you remember last year, in October, we had just had the hurricane. And so we missed a significant amount of school in the month of October that I do think did play a part in some of that data. We did see a decrease in the number of hearings for disorderly conduct, weapons, and gang-related activity, which is good to see. And again, over 99.9% of our students are doing what they're supposed to do. And we do hold those kids accused of a code of conduct violation accountable. We afford them that due process, and then we have them go through the student behavior hearing for that due process whenever there's a doubt there. So. Earlier I mentioned with threats that we have the Behavior Threat Assessment and Management, which we refer to as BTAM. The state refers to as BTAM. As you remember in House Bill 268, we're required to have a Behavior Threat Assessment Management Plan, or a BTAM plan, in this upcoming year. The plan involves developing a team who identifies, inquires, assesses, and manages potential threats while supporting the safety of the students and staff. Now, our team, when you look at a team, it's what we have in place. It's an admin, it's an SRO, those are non-negotiable, counselor, SPED services if it's relevant, and those are the folks that need to be involved anyway in some of these threats assessments. The threat is assessed, and then based on the level, a determination is made as to whether or not the threat is unfounded, low, medium, or a high threat. Those high threats are the threats that would go to a hearing or have even more severe consequences. The unfounded is when you look and you see that maybe they didn't have any means, that it was two friends playing a chess match or having a chess match, and one got mad and said something he shouldn't have said, but he has no means, he had no intent. The receiving student did not feel threatened, but the comment was made. So you go through that assessment, through that questionnaire with your team. We have a good process in place, and luckily for us, we were moving toward that behavior threat before House Bill 268 came into action. But we do feel like our administrators and families are going to benefit from this threat assessment and plan to help identify the different levels. So that when we are taking kids to a hearing or sending out those letters to inform parents, that there's, I hate to say meat behind it, but there's significant evidence as to our decision, that we can back it up through documentation. And that documentation gets put into the record so that if they change schools, even within the district, all of those comments, whether they were unfounded or not, are kept. And so receiving schools keep that, and even the same, the kid could say at the same school the whole time they're there, but all that documentation remains for people to assess. Because then they can go back and look, it was unfounded that first time, but now we're seeing you for a second time. So there could be a pattern there. So that's what that team is going to really look at. And so I hate to say we're excited about something like that, but it is a nice tool that I feel like our admin and staff are ready for. So the SRO and administrative staff are involved at every level, and obviously a part of the team. And like I said, with the counselors, the student advocates we recently have hired with House Bill 268, and then the SPED specialist when relevant. So a lot going on with, and certainly after your second semester, we'll update you even with those numbers as they come in. So that's all I have, unless you have questions.
You mind expanding, Mr. Chairman, may I ask you?
Yes, sir.
You mind expanding on academic dishonesty? When I hear from the constituents, I'm starting to hear more and more of that. It's a little bit concerning.
Yes, it's cheating, plagiarism, using the AI. I mean, it's truly where we used to call it as cheating only, but it's where they have not been honest, where they, again, they're either using someone else's plagiarism. They used to, I can't remember the platform now that we use for plagiarism, but that's where that's mostly coming from, the cheating, the not being fraudulent, any sort of activity like that they have false information that they're putting in a paper or that they're sharing with others, or just flat out plain cheating.
So, but it sounds like the numbers would indicate they're being caught.
Yes.
You think we're catching most of them?
I feel like, I mean, I think some of them are very clever at it, but because we have the AI now, and then we have other means, and I apologize, I can't think of what we've used in the past. There's a bunch of different ones, but that has helped us catch, students as well for that, because used to it was just through observation, and now you can take a paper, but that's even more difficult. That's where we're going to have to really work with our folks, because I mean, how many of us use ChatGPT and some of those tools that we're going to have to discuss as we go throughout this next year, to start next year on what that's going to look like, with both training our adults and our children on the proper usage of it, and what's wrong and right as defined by the state.
Is our technology in some ways lending to allowing kids to cheat more in class? Where it's really, is that part of it, or are we just finding because of the technology we
Yes,
just
I think technology, and that was a big, another part of the electronic device decision, especially at the high school level, because the amount of academic dishonesty taking place with having their phone there to be able to look up answers, their watches, sharing of information, that started a lot of this. that's a great question.
Maybe it'll go down now that we, so Apple Watch
I
it.
believe it will. I mean,
I have a separate question. Where did willful refusal show up in here?
that is, willful refusal is also student incivility.
Okay.
So
It's still alive in here.
it is, oh yes, it is. It's another one of those catch-all phrases in that definition. And all of these are outlined in our code of conduct as well, every single fraction we talked about, so.
Do you think having our SROs in school is, we are, as Mr. Kent said, catching more or observing more and therefore bringing more to hearings?
From a criminal side, absolutely. That's it. And then just our admin and supervisor, we're trying, making sure that we have staff in appropriate places. And remember we talked to you about having staff located in various parts of the school to make sure that where we know there's heavy traffic or vaping or the little nooks and crannies that mischievous behavior can happen, we've got to make sure we have. So our principals have worked really hard in making sure that we appropriately place those adults.
How many students do we have in the alternative school right now? Approximately.
I think now, the last I heard, we had around 70, but that was at the end of the semester, and we're starting second semester. I think now it's probably leveled out to about 55, which is a larger number for second semester, but a lot of those students will go back at the end of the quarter to their assigned school, depending on what they did.
The state reportable, is it, as reported to the State Board of Education, or is, who are we reporting?
Yes, we do report it to the Georgia DOE, all that in the Infinite Campus. It gets uploaded straight up to that, and then certainly GOSA has access. Everyone can access that platform to see that data.
It's available to the public?
Yes.
And do they also provide other counties, or do they, I guess you can look at the compare counties?
You can.
Which can't compare is the reporting that other counties do.
Yes.
Not are they reporting?
Yes.
That's what's my constant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when we have bullying on here, is that using the state definition of bullying?
It is.
The legal one, or?
It is the state definition. And that's required by law too.
I don't know that everybody understands that it's a legal term these days.
Yes.
It's not just
And
legal.
we've already changed ours for this past year, but starting July 1, the new bullying definition that included AI and social media, it's already in place and with our definition, but it's mandated starting July 1.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, thank you for bringing this to the board. I know it's a hard discussion for us to have, but I think the first step is to have the discussion. So I'm really grateful that y'all have done that, and thank you for your work in this field of dealing with students. It's not as fun as the recognitions, but thank you for that you do. My question is I see that we have good things in place, and clearly we're using them. I mean, it's a double-edged sword when we see larger numbers on our discipline reports and seeing numbers going up, but kind of like you said, with the vape detectors, it means that we're catching more, so it's, larger numbers. I think we all need to always remind ourselves to stay in perspective that doesn't mean that we're failing. It means maybe to the extent that we're catching things, which is the first step in fixing it. So I think we having these continued discussions of the numbers and the effectiveness of different things that we put into place, that's the way forward in this. But my question is I see these things in place, I see that we're enforcing them, but yet I'm hearing from constituents, and they're sending stories of, and teachers talking about classroom disruptions, and it seems kind of the common theme of these that they're experiencing is the repeat students that are doing the classroom disruptions, where the teacher might send them out and then they're back in the classroom, or the repeat kid bullying, or the repeat child bringing vapes into school. So can you help, I guess, maybe bridge that in situations where parents and teachers are sharing and experiencing these repeat situations, and children or students are still brought back to school? where do you see us being able, or why is that, I guess? What's your thoughts?
Well, definitely we have the progressive discipline where we don't, depending on the severity of it, we start as low as we can to make sure we redirect and correct that behavior. And then based on the severity, it may go quicker than we thought to a more severe level. But it's a lot of it's communication too. And some of it we're tied because if a parent is upset that their child is being mistreated, or there's oftentimes the other side of that that we're not able to disclose, but we are able to call the parent and reassure them that we're doing everything. And I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure that we on our end as teachers and admin communicate to these parents and just help them, reassure them that although we can't always discuss the other side of the behavior problem, letting them know what we're doing and what to do if it does continue to occur, who to talk to and that sort of thing. So I think communication is a big piece of that, but there's only so much we can communicate, but I think it's just being able to let them know that what we have done and what we will do should this continue, and then making sure they report it. We use it a lot, that see something, say something. Saying something to us or to admin, to a teacher before it does get out of hand or it feels like it's gotten out of hand, so that we can talk to them about the process and what's supposed to happen next, and so that they at least know that it's being attended to, and that if it does continue, this will happen. And then if it's not addressed, then having them revisit us again to ask those questions of why.
What you're saying is just because people perceive that this incident took place, the student A got this discipline, student B got this discipline. They don't always have all the facts.
That's exactly.
That are being spread.
Yes.
They only know what their child came home with. They will never be told what the other child came home with. Just because the other child said he got so-and-so, that's not necessarily facts.
Yes, and part of it too is the due process piece, and then sometimes you have to go with the preponderance of evidence. As an administrator, you're looking at both a lot of he said, she said, and the lower grades, and you have to go with what you can prove, not hearsay. And we operate sometimes a lot off of, as a community, hearsay instead of actual facts that we have or evidence that we're able to prove. We may believe in our heart of hearts that someone did something, but if we don't have that evidence or the facts, then we're at a point where we have to do the best we can to communicate the process and reassure and address when we do have that evidence or any such behavior warrants an action. That helps.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson. Appreciate that.
Good evening. Mr. Pritchett and I would like to provide you with a mid-year update for special education for this school year. We also want to give you a glimpse tonight into some things to come during the second semester. Dr. Flint mentioned that earlier this evening. And we want to talk a little bit about things to come that will continue to enhance and support services and resources that we provide to our students with disabilities. You may recall that in previous presentations during first semester, we have focused on increasing professional development opportunities in all areas, in area instruction, compliance, program, and behavior. We've enhanced communication and provided supports to our school level special education personnel through both our weekly meetings and our monthly meetings. And during these meetings, resources are shared and direct support is provided to our specialists based on the needs and the feedback from our schools. Our district cluster leads conduct monthly updates at each school to provide direct district support to our school-based employees. And our annual Summer Institute helped us provide sessions that focus specifically on specially designed instruction, behavior, and legal updates. Our commitment to increasing professional learning opportunities has remained consistent, and one of the most recent examples of that is on January 2nd, our special education staff engaged in professional learning to enhance their knowledge and support for writing exemplary IEPs. Our just-in-time weekly sessions that we hold on Friday mornings with our specialists provide guidance from our district to our specialists at the school level on topics that arise across our schools at all levels. And this gives them an opportunity to focus on individual situations that might be unique to their schools. Ongoing communication, such as our monthly newsletters for teachers and staff and our quarterly newsletters for parents, and our teacher toolkit provide critical ongoing support and resources to both special education support staff, our admin, parents, and teachers. And these avenues have created open lines of communication to all of our stakeholders, and they increase our ability to gain and share information, resources, and to organize the support that's needed at the school level. The Teacher Toolkit is a one-stop shop that provides our special education teachers an online platform for resources for appropriate case management. Semester school-based meetings with our admin and our special education district team help gain feedback and insight on the needs, supports, resources, and adjustments as are outlined at our individual schools. Community events include our transition resource fair on February 28th at Evans High School. That's from 11 to 2. And our upcoming Special Olympics ceremony on March 27th at Lakeside High School Athletic Complex. So as you can see, we've got lots of great things going on to support the professional learning needs of our schools, as well as resources that help our teachers do their daily job as they support our students with disabilities across all levels. I'll turn it over to Mr. Pritchett at this time, and he's going to share a little bit more about our ongoing commitment and support for special education and some things that we have on the horizon this semester and in our 26-27 year budget. And then we'll pause at the end for questions.
Good evening. Our commitment to advancing special education is not a one-year commitment. It is an ongoing journey to equip and impact lasting change for our students with disabilities. Our special education district leadership and specialists are currently engaged in our leadership forum that Ms. Gregg was able to detail that we started on January 2nd. This is a specially designed 3-part training course that helps our leaders at both the district and school level gain in-home skills and knowledge that assist them as they support teachers and schools in all areas related to individualized education plans and special education. Beginning in the spring, our special education teachers will begin their journey to advancing special education with specific trainings designed to impact case management, promote instructional excellence, and effective compliance. Included in the 26-27 budget for next school year and provided this spring are incentives for special education teachers and staff that will provide critical release time for additional days for teacher collaboration, instructional planning, IEP development, progress monitoring, professional learning, and our data collection. You may recall that our special education paraprofessional staff that serve in our program environments and in related classrooms already receive a supplement or stipend to pay based on their role. As a part of the 26-27 budget and beginning this spring, we will also provide our self-contained special education teachers a similar stipend. As we plan for and move into the upcoming school year, we will continue to ensure that support for special education is a top priority, and that the greatest level of support is placed at the school level with the implementation of the school-based department chair role.
This role will exist at each of our schools and provide support in all areas: instruction, program, compliance, and behavior. As you can see, each of these actions are examples of our district's overall commitment to advancing special education and our focus on engaging, enriching, and inspiring each student and teacher. At this time, I will open it for any questions that you all may have.
Department chair at each school,
Yes.
and so I'm assuming that person will be responsible for all the above.
That person will be supporting our special education staff in those buildings, yes.
Okay, now, so they already have the training that they need, they're getting the training they need?
We're working through trainings now on them, yes.
And will they be teaching all day as well?
They will not be teaching, they will be supporting those teachers.
So their full-time job is to be the department chair and make sure that everybody in the special ed, that deals with special ed students has what they need, the IEPs or that has time to get the data they need to write them and to make certain that they are administered as they're written. And
Yes, compliant IEPs, being able to sit in meetings with our new teachers to help establish them as LEAs, going in to promote instructional practices in the co-teaching environment or in our self-contained environment to ensure that we are delivering curriculum standards, whether that's our general education curriculum or our GAA curriculum for our students that are in that modified curriculum.
then for people who are in a self-contained classroom, they're being compensated for that
Yes,
experience.
yes, with the stipend.
That's new.
That is new.
Do we still use Paula Everett-Trugry as our consultant for SPED?
We utilize a variety of experts in the field, so from time to time, we use different people depending on what our support and behavior, who are an expert in that.
So do we still use her on a regular basis? I mean, has she been actively?
She does assist us, yes.
And when did she start assisting us with the SPED program?
It was after the needs assessment. She was the one that we hired to do that. So right after that, we contracted her to help us in some specific areas like the others.
It's like 2022-ish?
That needs assessment, I believe, was done in all of 23.
2023. And how have we measured that effectiveness since we did that needs assessment? Have we found it to have resolved some of the issues?
Several of the suggestions from the assessment, training with the implementation, we work to come in on the training. So, yes, those things are helping with our teachers in the right tools that they need to support the students in whatever setting.
Surely the needs assessment led to this in some way, did it not?
Yes, and this is a continuous cycle of improvement. We will always reflect on our practices and make sure we're intentional in improving our practices to best serve our students.
Do you have any metrics that we use as far as like less state complaints, less incidents, and what kind of metrics do we use to see if that consultant is effective?
Well, I would say that state complaints, that is a procedural safeguard for parents. There will be disagreements. We've got 38,000 special education students that we serve. 3,800, I'm sorry, 38,000 people. 3,800, yes. But of those 3,800, you're going to have complaints. And I think that is a great ground for us to understand if we're being compliant, because the state will respond to determine if you're compliant in those areas that's arising that complaint. And if we're not in compliance, that gives us an opportunity to go back and continue with our trainings to ensure that this does not happen again. So you're going to have complaints in the state, and that's not just in our district, that's going to be any district, because that's one of the procedural safeguards for our parents.
Do we track those numbers of complaints every year? So we're annually, we know how many state and federal complaints?
Back to your question on training, Alan. A
A lot of our district staff do our trainings as well. Mr. Christian just had one last Friday. He also partnered with, one on January 2nd. Our coordinators upstairs, a lot of our people are being, a lot of these trainings.
And y'all mentioned this is gonna be implemented this spring as well as next year. So is that the department chair piece as well? So we will effectively now start putting department chairs in the.
That will actually implement as we move into next school year.
And so do we have the personnel for that, I think?
Yes, we're working through allocations right now, yes.
We're gonna start hiring those ASAP, is that right?
We met with parents, and at one point I'd asked for us to do kind of a question and answer session with parents to get their feedback on their suggestions and experiences with the program. Have we done that, or how have we gauged parental feedback as we incorporated this plan for moving forward?
We have not had that yet, but we do have a parent mentor that's on board. She's got that within her plans. We do have our resource transition fair where we invite our families out. That's a great opportunity to have a presence as district leaders. We're at that, and we get to see those parents. But we're going to continue to take their feedback. One of the things that the state pushes out is a parent survey for all special education parents. So that window is open, and we're going to push that at our resource fair and through our case managers to have our parents provide that information from feedback surveys that's provided us.
Is that survey narrow just to Columbia County, to where Columbia County gets to see their results? Or?
Yes, it does.
I also have lots of other avenues to gain parent feedback, meetings that individuals from our district level support team are part of, that gives an opportunity to gauge the temperature of how parents feel about supports and services. They communicate needs that they have at those meetings as well. So there's some informal avenues that we utilize to make sure we continue to check on that.
One thing we may want to just reiterate, I know everybody probably knows that we've kind of talked around it, but if a parent has an issue, we would really like them to first ask the teacher, and then ask the assistant principal, and then ask maybe the principal. Some of the time we're hearing that it jumps straight to another level, and it's bypassed the people that probably really help them the most, and we need to have that collaboration happening. So when we get that feedback, we try to make that a priority, and y'all might want to talk more about that. But that's also what some of this training and pushing that leadership to the lowest level if we can. So the LEA being the teacher, the department chair being in the school, reporting to the principal, that's where that can happen the fastest. And hopefully this organization will help make that happen.
And I would just add to that, because I know in some cases that's what happens, but I also know there's also cases where they have worked their way up through the chain of command without resolution. So I think we need to constantly be looking at both. I'll send an email for it, but I am interested in those state and federal complaints over the last 10 years just to kind of see trends. But that would probably be by email.
I think the structure, as Dr. Flint mentioned, is setting us up for success when we go to a lot of communication. But several of our trainings, all that we've had so far, has some components of communication and making sure that communication line is open from the teacher all the way up to the administrator as well as the district level. So that's been definitely part of our training courses that we've had so far, and it's part of our communication on Friday.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ed.
Thank you.
Good.
Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Staffing update. Chief Human Resources Officer.
So you want to take another break on the meeting? Very quickly here, let's go to the first slide. This is a continuation of a good news picture that's been going on for some time now. Credit goes to everyone that's involved in the staffing process, from my level down to the building leaders and all those folks. So it's a good picture. We've been chasing the special ed positions almost all year, probably about 2 years now, and different positions that have come available, but we managed to kind of get our arms around it. Right now, it's interrelated positions, and we've got some plans to fix those in the coming year. But it's a good news picture. I think we've done a good job. Right now, we're entering, the division is entering its busiest time of the year. The next 8 months will be busy retaining, recruiting, on and offboarding employees. So it's a good picture, and we're doing okay. Next slide, please. I'd like for you to focus on our projections for next year. We've kind of pretty much settled on the numbers that I showed you on the previous slide. That's what we're not going to get any higher than that. We're going to stay around 99%, probably dip a little bit because we're not going to hire any more folks or many folks for the rest of this year, and we're focusing mainly on 26, 27. That's not to say that we're done recruiting for this year, but very few folks are going to come on at this time of year because of the limited number of days left in the school-based people. But focus on the projections at the total line. We're projecting a decrease of about 300 students, and our projections and the projection that we came up with that were developed by the person that helps us, we're within 7 students. Those are the locations that enrollment, we're anticipating enrollment to be up and down in those locations. But this isn't a surprise to us. We knew that our attendance, our population was going to level off around this time. Next slide. These are some things that we really want to focus your attention on. We're in the 4th year of our weighted student allocation, and as you know, that's where we try and meet the specific needs of all of our learners as opposed to taking a total population, a total student count and dividing that out by the recommended class sizes. We focus on meeting the specific needs of our learners, particularly those in ESOL, EIP, gifted, and special ed, and assigning our talent to meet them that way. And the bottom line with this is, by knowing what our projections are, and we know we have a really good idea of how many students we're going to expect next year, that we break that down by segments. Segments become FTEs, FTEs become teachers, and that's what we recruit for, we focus our efforts on. So by showing you this, we're trying to let you know that this is what we're expected to bring in, and that the word preliminary, it's not going to change much. We know that we're going to have some permissive transfers. That's not going to impact us very much. We may have some, we're continuing to take 20-day counts. So we have a really good idea of how many is going to be here next year. So we're looking to, and with the changes in special ed, we're just looking to get a head start on recruiting in those areas. So that's pretty much it for this year, what we're looking at for next year, and we're going to get busy on it.
Mr. Wright, you mentioned class size and the weighted staffing. Weighted staffing, and correct me if I'm wrong at all, but weighted staffing has increased our staff through the QB formula, even though we've been decreasing in the number of students. And class size has either decreased or remained the same. Now, there are some areas where, because we've seen a decline in students, a little bit faster than our projections, we may have had a few extra staff in school. So last year we probably had a few less students, but as far as the way we're funding schools, we're going to have more teachers funding than we did 3 or 4 years ago, and class sizes inherently would be a little bit lower. Now, it's really hard to find that number, but Mr. Wright does a great job in an analysis of that every year. We typically bring that at another time. But any of that you want to expand on, or did I get that right?
As we do a scheduling process, we're identifying students, putting them in the right places, getting them with the right assets, and what that does for us, because of different weights assigned to each student, we're able to get more state dollars, which increases, which has allowed us to increase staffing to work particularly or specifically with those students in the EIP students, those ESOL students, and our gifted population continues to improve as well as the special ed population. And so we're able to attract more dollars, hire more staff, hire more specific staff to work with these learners. And so, yes, the misnomer every year is that, hey, we're increasing staff. We're increasing class sizes. Not true. Class sizes have remained the same, if not lower. In fact, the flexibility that these building leaders get, they're able to hire more staff, in some cases, APs or behavioral specialists, whatever they need to meet the specific needs of their schools. So it's been a win-win for us, and we're going to get better at it.
As far as timing, you're going to let the schools know their projections and let the principals start any areas of needed hiring?
Yes, sir. We'd like to do that. We'd like to give these projections to the schools within the next week or so they can develop their staffing plans, so they can tell us specifically what they need, and so we can start recruiting for. We already know that we're increasing some of the staff in the special ed department. These building leaders or department chairs, they have specific skill requirements that we need to recruit from, and when you add in some of the incentives and some of the other things that we're doing, we should be okay, but we need to get on.
When we said that we're decreasing faster than projections, do we have an idea of why that is? Why are we decreasing faster?
Not faster, no. We knew years ago that our enrollment would peak and flatten out.
Okay.
So we're not decreasing. Last year, an anomaly across the state, it seemed like every district was expecting more students than they got, and we were no different. So we're kind of ramping down to that number now, probably in the general ed population, but not in the special ed population. So overall, we'll have probably plus or minus 1 or 2 positions. We'll probably end up hiring 150 teachers at the end of the day, which is typical for us. So it's not a major decrease.
Do we know, I mean, for the students that we've left, not just, or the ones that we expected to enroll because they hit the right age but didn't, do we know where they went?
I have no idea. I've asked a lot of my peers across the state. I think enrollment is about the same or lower at some of the parochial schools. It may be that more people are homeschooling. I can't tell. I asked a friend of mine in Cherokee. They were expecting 42,000 students last year. They came in just over 40,000 kids. So it's across the state. So I was looking online today, where are these kids? And no one really knows.
Mr. Wright, one of our largest areas on that was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And that was, there was a pretty strong belief that there was going to be a little bit of a COVID bump after COVID, and we're at that 5-year old now. And so we didn't see the bump that most projectors were calling for, including some of our data. So a lot of that is from kindergarten, and that's going to move its way through. You know, we have a bubble that's still moving through at our high school level. So it's going to feel in some levels like you're getting a few more students, which you are, depending on your grade level or your school or wherever you are. But overall, if you look at our numbers, that's the largest area where we saw that decrease.
It's just a projection. It's not
right.
Someone walking in here tomorrow, or, you know, we're not.
No, we do get data back from the state. We haven't seen an increase in any of the others. So your private school, your home school, those have remained right around 10%, and nationwide that's what that's been. So we haven't seen a huge decrease in or increase in that at all.
So who does our projections? Do we do those internally?
Both. We keep a historical record, trends of birth rates, graduation rates. We roll over, we do a seat count of every kid that's in our school right now. The only factor we may not know who's going to come from the pre-K.
We use like a company or an expert?
We have a demographer that helps us with it, but
who do we use for that? Just curious.
McKibben and Associates. But we do those separate. We do our own internal numbers, we use their external numbers, and then we come together. What were you what was the difference this year? Some years it's been larger, but I thought it was pretty close. You were
7 students between him and us. And one, I got a wild idea that I would use averages for the past 5 years of every grade level, and I was off by 900 kids between my kid and what we usually do and what I came up with. So we went with our numbers. I think our numbers are really good by grade level. Mr. McKibben's numbers are a little bit off by grade levels, and we know who's here right now, so.
No, I'm sorry. There you go. Thank you. So for the Grovetown middle, do we think some of that's military? I mean, do we see that? That's why I'm just trying to figure out a pattern. Like, I know if you're going to move your kids, sometimes that middle school years when you're going to move them, and
Yes, you could.
try not high school and elementary, maybe not so much, but that middle school, are we seeing more of that transient population? That
Well, if you look at the Grovetown complex, the elementary school isn't impacted that much. Middle school, a great deal.
That's what I'm wondering. If you're going to move, that would be my year to move my kid.
That might be a problem.
Well, remember, we're also looking at the numbers that are moving from the elementary to the. So it's the next year up. So what you've got to do, the closest analysis you can do, and Ms. Jackson worked close with this too, so if you want to jump in on this, but we've all had our time on this, but typically you could just take this year's grade level and then move it up 1 year, and you're going to be pretty close. Those numbers pretty much follow that. Now, we have some a little bit more movement because of our military population and otherwise, and we see a lot of people that aren't coming in because we don't have our elderly population is not leaving the county, which is it's a great sign that they want to stay here and age in place. But it also kind of limits our younger population from being able to move in and buy some houses in certain areas. Ms. Jackson, you got anything else, or did I hit most of it? All right.
Well, I'm curious, because when you withdraw a student, you always have to do a document of why you're withdrawing. Either you're transferring the records to a private school, or you're declaring homeschool status, or you're relocating, and your records go to a new state or location. So I'm surely we have the data to say how many students are we losing as a district each year for purposes that are not, relocating military-wise or something like that. So do we do analysis of those numbers over like 7-10-year trends to say, hey, are we losing students? Are we gaining students? And to see what that picture looks like? Because I'd be really curious to see kind of what those trends look like. And again, kind of like you said, the state had an anomaly and we seem to match it.
Well, we do a 20-day count throughout the year, even now. Between now and, between August and now, we've lost only 100 students. So,
And I'm sorry,
that's.
Didn't the counts kind of get wacky during COVID as well? I mean, students just sort of disappeared and never came back.
Yeah, they stayed at home, probably posted it, and you could say that we're recovering from that. But years ago, the projections were off the other way. We had more kids than we anticipated. So I would say, and you can take that back, several months, but this is pretty tight, what we're looking at right now, because we looked at the seeds, we bounce it off student information, we look at it a number of different ways. So will they be exact in those locations? No, but that won't be any different than what we normally do, just be teaching.
It's sort of like calling school and counting whether you do the best.
They don't take enrollment on certain days.
This is a lot easier than the web.
Very true.
Good job on getting your numbers right up there with the consultant. That's,
Thank you.
compliments, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Okay, let me thank all the staff. A lot obviously goes into that, and I know they have some support staff helping on that as well, so thank you for your presentations and all your work in those areas. We're going to move on to the building program. Let me just flip through a few pictures so you can see while you're looking at Lakeside. They had a great entry into this semester where the students are now using the new media center, the cafeteria, and the kitchens up and running. Dr. Bing still in here. You like that new kitchen, don't you? They're doing great, and then the food looked great when I was out there. So great job, and it went over really flawlessly that first day. This back of the school is the new gym. You see most of the steel is erect now, so you can pretty much get an idea of what the building is going to look like with the multi-purpose room and the weight room in the back. Just another view of the entrance and the gym. And then this is the front of the school. That behind those windows is the new cafeteria, the new kitchen behind that, and we have a new serving lines, and these are going to be replicated in our high schools, and that's going extremely well. And Ms. Jackson, you and I and others, Dr. Bang, all were out there. It's going really well, and it's a new way to get food, but it seems to be going extremely well. So, moving on to Evans. Again, you see the roof is white on all of those areas on the left and the right. So we're going to be moving into those this summer. They haven't moved into those yet. Obviously, we have some very large renovations to get on with in the middle of the school, which will start this summer, and so pretty heavy renovation. We'll need to move all of those individuals, including admin, into some temporary offices, which will be in the new parts of the building. But that gym and the cafeteria and all will be up and running as they start school next year. These are just some other pictures. There's the Performing Arts Center on the left side. A little bit closer up on the Performing Arts Center. They're similar to Lakeside. And then the gym and cafeteria and kitchen and the classroom addition in between those two. Look for the front of the school. Harlem High School looks a lot different. If you've driven by there, you'll see that the site work has begun in earnest, and they've already started pouring the parking lots up front. Trees are all gone, and preparing for all of the changes that will be happening over the next couple of years out there. This is just a look at it from the road.
With Harlem High School, we started talking by email just recently here, and there was some good information provided. But what's our plan for the traffic? I know there's a lot of accidents out there with new drivers, and it seems to be a constant question. I know we've talked about we're not able to use our own police force because of public roads, and so we have to kind of work with them.
Let's make sure that we say it right. There hasn't been a lot of accidents. There have been.
I mean, a lot is relative. I see it driving by, bender or something like that.
And I would say that the changes because of the construction, I was actually out there this morning, have improved the getting the vehicles off of the main road dramatically. I didn't even see any on the road this morning. Ms. Jackson, you've been out there as well.
Yes, we have a longer car line to get through, so they can turn in. Either way, even back before we made the construction changes, they were still emptying out onto 221.
Right.
They had the two areas in which they were doing so, but we still had, a few issues that we had to work through. So I don't think the construction has added to that. And then next semester, when we start the new school year, we'll also have the opening of the parking lot in the front again. It will reopen. But the buses will at that point come through because we'll be working on the parking lot. So we're going to have some navigation, but we've met with roads in our county, and we're maximizing what we can do with that area, until they change their plans, which they have some long-term plans, hopefully, that will help in that area. But right now, we have to do the best we can with making sure we educate our parents and our students about looking both ways before trying to dart across, and when they can, make a right turn and then turn around if they have to, if it's really crowded. So, but that was a problem, not that it makes it easier to digest.
And I think there's other construction projects happening in the area in the future that people are kind of looking ahead ahead. And I agree with you that this is kind of an ongoing thing, and you've got the high school students trying to make those left-hand turns, and as that road gets busier and busier, as more and more population comes out, and it's not something to be figured out tonight, just something on our radar as board members and as a district of working with the city or whoever we have to work with to try to mitigate.
Well, Harlan PD has been very gracious in the last couple of weeks to supply an officer out there to help with the traffic.
Okay.
So, and he intends to do that until he has a situation where, you know, every day he can't commit to, but that's his goal.
Good, that's wonderful, because I know the one at Harlan Middle is absolutely essential with making traffic flow safely, so. Okay, well, thanks for having us.
Are there any more pictures? On the sidewalk out there. Drainage pond here in front of the school, that's going in. And that's it. I don't have any pictures for you, but as you know, we're going to be starting the design for Greenbrier High School. Looking forward to that with our architect, Smallwood Associates. That'll be starting this week.
When did we approve the contract for Smallwood?
That's a decision that was made with all of our architects that we use. It was under kind of a group RFP where we looked at, I think we have 5 on our list. Smallwood was determined to do the high schools and the high school modernization, similar to how we did Buckley Associates for all of our new schools.
So it's a previous contract that included multiple.
Now they still have to be within the percentage, and this one actually is coming even lower than that because it's a similar school, similar work, you know, what we're doing at the other schools.
And for the sake of time, I won't ask all the questions, but I would like, please, emailed the most recent contractor payment request, which shows kind of where we're at in the project, what we've spent, what's left in contingency. I know they filed those for payment periodically every 30 days, I think. So if those could just get emailed, that would save me some time asking questions.
Mr. Casado.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into superintendent reports, and we'll wrap it up.
Did building program bid results? Do you have any bid results? Okay.
Just to clarify, it wasn't bid recently, right? Just to make sure I understood that answer. Okay.
Moving on to Rising Freshman Night. That was a great success for all of our high schools. Before you are a few photos of the 8th graders from across the district, along with their parents learning about pathways and electives in high school. On Thursday, January 22nd, students participated in the annual district spelling bee at Greenbrier Middle. After 25 rounds, Sreya Lakansetti from Stalling Island Middle School was named the winner with the correct spelling of the word concerto. In second place was Sarah Dowd from Greenbrier Middle School, and in third place was Gopalani, Ashrith Gopalani from Riverside Elementary School. The top 3 will go on to compete at the Region Spelling Bee next month in Athens, and our 4th place winner, Raghav Thumsi from Blue Ridge Elementary School, will serve as an alternate. Best of luck to these outstanding student spellers, and congratulations to all of our students who competed and for those who will be participating in the Region B. Next Friday, big day, February 6th, we look forward to the 6th annual CTA Workforce Showcase competition. This year's event will be held at the Support Department Complex, where students will be competing in challenges to showcase their skills and knowledge and in their respective CTA pathways. In addition, business partners from across the community participate as judges. This year's event will also include a Path Forward Trades Expo coordinated by our Columbia County School District Foundation, the Columbia County Rotary, and the Greater Augusta Home Builders Association. The event culminates with an impressive awards ceremony, and one student will walk away with a $1,000 scholarship from our very own Columbia County School District Foundation. We look forward to bringing you photos from that event at our next meeting. The rest of the information you see there are dates of events. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any need for an executive session, and that completes my reports.
Thank you, Dr. Flint. Our next agenda item would be approval of the personnel sheet. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the personnel sheet as presented by the superintendent.
All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Seeing none, personnel sheet is approved. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. That's unanimous. We shall adjourn. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you all for all your work.